Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Depends where you are domiciled in this world. I am one of your own that bringing the message of reminder to you in all the things that we have been forgotten, and when we are claiming something that does not exist, and when we are on the, instead of being on the legal path, we are working on illegal part of what we are doing, and we are claiming that we are doing it right. That is why we are here this afternoon, to remind you what Mazi Nnamdi Kanu stand for, what Simon Ekpa stand for, and why Nguzara is here to accomplish all they have ever dreamed, all they have fighting for. So on that note, I welcome you this wonderful afternoon, followed by listening to the prayer of our President Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Then after that, we will proceed.
As long as we come on air every evening, the whole world must listen. As long as we preach this very gospel, Chukwukika Abiyama must be with us. Therefore, without any further hesitation, we must proceed to offer every prayer to Chukwukika Abiyama who resided in heaven. Therefore, as we always commence, not from today, but from of old, our Father who art in heaven, that your name may be hallowed by men, that we may bow at the mention of it, that we may offer every glory unto thee, that we may offer you every adoration and adulation, because there is none like thee. You fight our battles for us. Every blessed day you demonstrate through your kindness and your everlasting mercy that you are our Lord, our God, and our Creator. This evening we offer these your children unto thee all over this very planet that you created. They are listening across the entire 24 time zones on this very planet where they inhabit. They are listening to your gospel this very evening, this gospel of redemption, a gospel of hope, a gospel of restoration, a gospel of renewal, this very gospel of freedom, this very gospel of emancipation as only you ordained. That this very gospel must be preached, that mankind may be set free from the eternal damnation of the creation of the British. My goodness me, I want to remain in the spirit, because we must worship heaven. We answer your name, O Lord of hosts. Everything about us is designed to offer glory unto thee. We have atoned for our sins last year. This very year, we have not only atoned for our sins, we have spilled, we have shed blood, they have shed our blood. We have let our sacrifice be made unto thee. Even on the 30th of August, as we are being felled by the bullets of the enemy, by the workers of iniquity and of darkness, we remain very strong today to beckon upon thee, to ask you for your mercy and for your grace, to ensure that your kingdom is restored upon the face of the earth, that you can bring your healing hand to bear upon the life of those of them that you created for one singular purpose, and that purpose alone, which is to worship you in truth and in every honesty. Is there any way that we have erred? Is there any way that our ancestors may have sinned? We confess before a congregation of the whole of humanity to ask you, O Lord of hosts, to have mercy upon us. You must have mercy upon us. We have suffered enough. We have been subjugated enough. We have been tortured enough. We have been imprisoned enough. We did not do these people anything. Our only crime is to answer your name. Our only crime is to be born your children. Our only crime is to excel at everything that we place our hands into. Our only crime is to exhibit your glory and your blessing, which manifestedly is upon our lives every blessed day. That is why they want to kill us. That is why the British want to join those of them who don't know you to destroy your creation and your inheritance. You will not allow shame to befall your name. You will not allow the enemies to triumph over the lives of your children, because you created us to exist, to worship, to honor, and to praise you. That is exactly what we are going to do when this Biafra comes. It will come in truth and in every honesty, because we remain every blessed day. Chukwabiama, believe they're whiter than white and whiter than snow. Is there any way that we have sinned that you cannot forgive us our trespasses, to enable us to fulfill your own word, which was spoken thousands of years ago, that instead of what you promised not to come to pass, that heaven and earth will cease to exist? You opened your mouth to bless mankind to the coming of Yahweh Yeshua, who came here and said, let your kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven. Those words can never be in vain, because they are anchored upon your holiness and your magnificence. That is why in the end we know that Biafra will come, that these children that we have given birth to all over the world, and their children, and their children, and their children, as long as they give birth to them and they are Biafrans, they will worship you in truth and honesty. Through this very work we are doing, mankind will come to understand you. Let your miracle be wrought in our lives. Let us witness and behold your magnificence, your holiness, your mystery, and your grace under our command. O Lord of hosts, we call upon you. We call upon you to heal. We call upon you to provide succor to those of them who are inconsolable. We ask you to come and strengthen those who are weak. We ask you to restore hope where there is hopelessness. We ask you for inclusion where there is destitution. We ask you for one brotherhood, one camaraderie, one bone, one blood, and one flesh of your children, the Efiks and the BPOs, the Izon, the Shekiri, the Isobos, and also those of them from Isoko. We are traveling all the way to the lands of Igala. We are moving on from there to Idoma, to Igede, to the territories of the Igbo land. All these places we dedicate unto thee. All these lands of yours, we ask you to cover it with your mercy, because Biafra will come, and when it does, we will dance on the streets. I'm telling you, by the time that we are done, humanity will think that we are mad, we are drunk in your glory, and rightfully so, because your kingdom will come to rest upon this very earth. That very kingdom is the unadulterated, non-negotiable sovereignty of the Republic of Biafra, that your will may be fulfilled in our time. All this we pray, all these we ask for, in no other name apart from that name that belongs to you. I had in Sosine Bigebi. He said, my name is Namdekano. I am the leader of indigenous people of Biafra all over this very planet, I tell you. I lead indigenous people of Biafra IPOB. So also do I command the armies of Biafra. They are fiercely loyal. They are loyal, I tell you, and doing the work that I expect them to do. I also direct Radio Biafronia Wemna Chineke, not through any power which I possess or any extraordinary knowledge, but by your grace, O Lord. by your grace, Chukwokika Biama, Onyamna Isiala Nefe. We honor you and we adore you. I know that some people listening, including the British, may not understand what we are doing, but there is nobody in Britain that answers Nwachukwu, the child of heaven. We do. Therefore, when we worship our Father, people should not try to be jealous. They should not feign ignorance or misunderstanding because we are ancient people. We have been doing this for over 5,000 years and we will continue to do so until the end of time.
Yes, I welcome you to this wonderful program. If you are watching me from TikTok, I urge you to like the StreamYard. If you are watching me from YouTube, I want you also to like and share and comment on this program today. Please, as you do so, this is how you are helping the message to go viral. So I sincerely ask you to do that so many more people will join us via TikTok and YouTube. Now we are live on TikTok also. To make sure that we pass the message to the Biafrans all over the world to know this bitter truth that will set us free. And the only bitter truth we are talking about is Government-in-Exile. At this page stand for to always bring you how international communities described the Government-in-Exile under their own law, not Biafrans, not we to describe who is gotten it right and which one is the Government-in-Exile. You know, in this world, that word real has been existing before us. The government. The government. And whenever you are doing something, whatever you are doing is done the real way. You must change. Because everything in this world has the real way to do it. And whenever you are following the real way to do it, nobody needs to tell you that you are doing the right thing. So, as you can see on my background, I bring all these names here that are claiming the Government-in-Exile and whatever they are claiming for them to come. Invite Chiamaka Ajere, invite Nneka Chiamaka, all of them, Oge Nkerie, Sonia Parawa Elias, that are deceiving the gullibles. And the only way to make the Biafran people is by the shenanigans of what they are doing. So please, I want you to share and invite them. Let us discuss today that the Government-in-Exile, that the criteria is not set by us. It is like we are in a class to write an exam where you have supervisor and those that monitored you that are even going to mark the exam. They are the one to decide. They are the one to mark your exam. You cannot mark your exam at the same time. Please, 1 minute for this call. Sorry for that. It's a very important call from one of our own, also from independent media. You know, information goes together. So at this stage that we are into, like what I was saying before, we are not the one to decide the government in exile. What we need to do is to ask them the criteria and look at how every other countries in this world that use the method of government in exile, whether the First World War, the Second World War, till this date, how do they achieve their own nation? How do they, from exile back to their to return back to their territory? Is the real thing that all of us need to ask ourselves at this stage that we are into. And it's also very, very imperative that as we are moving today, that as you are listening to the program, it is very important that you pay close attention how to know the real government in exile. You know that in this world, the world real has been existing before us. Is it not true? The world real has been existing before us. So today, we are going to listen how the world described the real government in exile. And if the world can be able to describe the real government in exile, with their description of government in exile, if what you are doing did not fall into this criteria, that means you are not real. And the world knows that you are not real. That is why on my background change, you can see all the saboteurs and betrayers. And those who claim they are government in exile, those who claim they are brig, they are government in exile. And those who drag about is brig government in exile, that is the prime minister of government in exile. You know, please, I urge you on TikTok, if you join, please, I want you to like the StreamYard, please. Like the program. Like the program, tap your screen. It's very important if you do so. That is how you invite more people to come, because we are doing this for people to understand where we are and the right way right now that we have issued our peaceful redeclaration of our lost nation on November 29, 2024 in Helsinki, Latvia, Finland. It is very, very imperative that we all listen to that. If the word real is exist in your life and you want to do the rating, so today we want to discuss how the international community or those that you are parading yourself where they are, how they know the real government in exile. Is it by talking? Is it by talking? Is it by protest? Is it by going to Washington, D.C. and sleeping in Washington, D.C.? Is it how to know the real government in exile? Okay, if you remove one, is it by going to EU, AU, and all these places only alone? What makes you a government and what makes you real? And what is the work of the government in exile? Because the government in exile have a very big work to do in the case of restoring a lost country that leads to what triggers the redeclaration of the lost nation. And the question is, are we the Biafran people, the first people who have ever formed government in exile? If in the past, people have formed government in exile and used this government in exile to achieve their own nation and restore a lost nation. Whenever I talk about a lost nation, I mean the Republic of Biafra that we lost in the year 1967 finally. And why do we need this redeclaration of this lost country? You remember when Christ resurrects Lazarus, He resurrects dead one to life. That's what simply means that this is what we are at this stage. Stephen Shibai, thank you so much for liking the program, please. Thank you for that. Thank you. We want those on TikTok to like the program, please. If you're on TikTok, please like and share the program. Based on that, where it's like also when you lose something and you finally get it back, what happened? You feel happy. That is what, so we call it what? Lost and found. We have lost this nation. How can we found this nation back? To found this nation back, there is a criteria. There is a template. There is how we going to find it back. And the only way that we find it back in this 21st century law is by peaceful redeclaration of a lost country. Steve, please, I will bring you when I put the link to people to join the program, so that time I can invite you. But for now, we just started, so have to do our analysis and bring all we have to Biafrans to listen. So please, like if you're watching on TikTok. It's very important if you do so. So at this stage that we are into, I don't want to tell you the Government-in-Exile. As we proceed on this program, you will be writing on the comments the Government-in-Exile. That is why I tag all of them that claim that they are Government-in-Exile. And what made you a Government-in-Exile is a very big question that calls for an answer. What is that thing that made you a Government-in-Exile? Is it just pronouncing it from your mouth? Be a Government-in-Exile, Briggy. Is it what makes you a Government-in-Exile leader? And pronouncing, spelling BIGIE, is it the criteria that the world is looking for? Is it how the world, do you meet the criteria of those that you claim that you are seeing in Washington, D.C.? Talk of those who is trying to register new one with the sponsor of Nigerian government, like Chioma Okoma, Bryson Okoma. They thought that this Biafra is a family matter. But I am here today to prove to you that the criteria of the Government-in-Exile is not being given by we, the Biafra. That is why I write in this way on my headline, how international community describe the Government-in-Exile under their own law, not we, the Biafran people. We are not the one. But if you fall into this criteria of how to restore a lost country Government-in-Exile, the world cannot stop you, and they will understand that this is the one that stands on existing protocol of how to restore a lost nation. Please, if you join from TikTok, I urge you to like the program, please. Like the program. If you're just joining us, please. That's okay, please like the program. We want you to understand that there is no way you can be a judge over your case. I want to see that person who is a judge over his case. So we need to allow the world to judge us by their law, by their protocol, by their template, by the existing protocol that has been there before us. Because if people have formed Government-in-Exile at far back of 1949, and we are forming it in 2022, 2023 as this stage, what we have to do is to follow the rules of those people that have lost their country, and they will be able to get their lost country back. So the best thing for us is to keep in the line. There is a line already that has already been there. Like when you went to a workshop or anywhere to buy something and you see a line, what do? You queue on the line. You queue on the line, like in the village when you went to go and fresh water and there is tap, people already on the tap before you. What you do, you don't jump and start the line. What you do, if you jump and start the line, you call for a fight. What you do is to queue on the line. What you do is what to queue on the line. So for us to have Biafra as our own nation, we must queue on the line of the Government-in-Exile and the wide world, proving there is a full legal criteria and a real Government-in-Exile. That is the things that are very important for us to know. When men undermine the truth will hurt them, and this truth will bring Hadaino to their life, and that is when they will sell this word that the ignorance of the law is never an excuse. So for all of you, those in Finland who claim they are Obatobi of Brigi, we are not doubting it with you. But on Friday, we are going to ask questions and we will treat issue of all of you on Friday. So for every Biafran at this stage, claiming that you want Biafra as a nation, and you joined Obatobi in a movement, when it is movement called Brigi, Biafra Republic Government-in-Exile, and you joined him. And that Government-in-Exile has no end point, like IPOB without end point. Obatobi has end point. The end point of Brigi or Biafra Government-in-Exile ending in after our peaceful redeclaration of our lost nation. Once we have the document, that is the end point of you being in Brigi. That is the end point of you being whatever you may think that you are today. So today, what is the end point has happened, but instead of you to accept the end point and agree, what you do is to continuously attacking the end point. The only way to restore the lost nation, what you do is to attack this end point. Now, whether this end point is the final way, and the end point is a peaceful redeclaration, is the only way we can be able to present ourselves on the legal path, on the existing template, on the international community guideline for us to restore our nation. It's not about what you feel, what you think. That's why I use this word, that nobody can be a judge over his case. You will allow the people to judge you. And the world has their way to judge us. So as we are proceeding to today's program, I want to prove to you under research the criteria of the real Government-in-Exile are those who judge the Government-in-Exile, and those who has gone through this road, we have passed the road that we are into today. People has gone through this road and passed and walk out of it and have their own nation. That is why I continue using my word, that we are not the first people and we are not going to be the last people, but only thing we have to do, that there is no shortcut to call for referendum. There is no shortcut to Biafra to organize as a sovereign nation fully. The only way and easy access is not even calling for a referendum with enough organization, is like using your leg trek from Old Eastern Region to Abuja. Let me just use that one example. Now, on the Government-in-Exile, the peaceful way and the easiest way to restore a lost nation by the word continuation of the old into the new. They call it what? Continuity. In this continuity of how to restore this lost nation is what we are going to see today. And also, we are going to allow the world to judge us if we are under the protocol of the real government in exile. It is very important. Because there is many noise. There are people that are deceiving themselves, are deceiving those that cannot be able to detect the truth from the lies. So that is why we are here. So please, when you come across our program via TikTok, anywhere you come across, we only urge you to like and share the program so many people will listen and they have the rethink of their mindset. For them to know that there is no other way. And when it comes to the full criteria of a lost nation, that you never fall on top of, you never fall inside it, and you are quite different from it. And we are going to look at, because IPOB is calling UN for referendum. Is it not true? Ogen is presenting that he's going to Washington, D.C. I never knew where Bryce, Nogama, Shoma, Okoma, Dr. Age, and all of them, they are going on their own path. That is why we must be here to let them know that what they are doing is not the real way to achieve this lost nation. That is only what Obatobia Simon Ebanjoko introduced to us, that until we achieve this document is when we have stopped making noise and when we can be able to present our matter so the entire world can listen to what we have to tell them. And they can also come to our rescue. So they will not be able to be seen us as what? As an organization, but rather they will be seen us as what? As the real government that are a separate body that is not internal matter of one Nigeria. Because of what? If there is no peaceful declaration of government in exile, it still remain under the internal matter of one Nigeria, under even the international law. But when you have a full government in exile, it simply means that you are a separate government under the law of the remedial secession, under the law of the remedial secession of external, no longer internal. Internal is under the law of the UN Charter, UN Article 2 in bracket Article 2 in bracket 1 of prohibition, and also Article 4 in bracket 7 of the UN, when you are using protest, organization, and all of these to work and claim that you are fighting for Biafra as a nation. And also to understand that the world is no longer believe in gun and bullet, that the world wants peaceful way, and that is what I told you, leave everything behind, and told us that we must focus to Redeclaration to peacefully generate the document that give us the legal right to achieve our own nation. True or false? If you are claiming that you want to remain in Brigi, why is Obato Obie push for us to have the document of our redeclaration of our lost nation? Why is Obato Obie continuously pushing for that and even put a date before the enemies sabotage him and also colluded with the Nigerian government to put him in prison, that he is going to his appeal case today? So before I proceed, I want you to know that if you are living in diaspora today, Obato Obie is calling all Biafrans to be in Finland on 17th of August to 21st of August. It's very, very sacrosanct. It's very, very imperative that all Biafrans, please apply. Once you're living in Europe, and if you can be able to find your way to Finland, Obato Obie is calling all Biafrans to be in Finland on 17th until 21st of August. It is very important if you can try. And if you also want to go, there is many links how you can, even if you need support. Even if you need support to be in Finland, there is channel for that. Please, if you are following me on YouTube, I want you to touch the emoji love, please, because we are under attack. The ones that have started minusing the like, that simply means that we are under such attack. So please, Do not allow them to kick us off. When they see that emoji love from YouTube, now they know that people love the message and people are listening to the message. Please, I urge you to do that one thing for me. It's not taking any money away from your YouTube. Please, do me that big favor by touching the like button, please. So, going forward, I sincerely want you to understand it clearly. Please, if you're watching me, yes, please hit the emoji love. It's very important. All those things are there so YouTube can allow us to go. Yes, as we're hitting it right now, they have started increasing those that they might not before. So, for we, the people of Biafra, our Prime Minister is calling us, if you live in diaspora, if you can take off this time of taking off from work, that you can travel down to Finland. If you can't do it alone, if you have my contact, contact me. I will send you to the group or to the numbers of those that needed support. It is very, very imperative that in fact, it is sacrosanct that the people of Biafra must be in Finland. It is very, very important if you do so. Thank you for the emoji because the like has increased. Before they minus about 4 people. Now they have brought them back again. You see why it's important when you're watching program, you touch the emoji love is to support them, the program. So the YouTube cannot kick us out. It is in our own time that people think that is a shortcut to have Biafra as a nation. But there is no shortcut. Is that going to school to graduate? You must pass every primary, secondary, university before you graduate. Is it not true? That is the same way it is in this our movement. When it was movement under IPOB, Masobo, and the Briggy. But after UNHCR declared on November 29, 2024, it's no longer just a movement. It has become the management of what? A country. It has become what? A country that are seeking for international recognition. So on that, we are going to go into the program for you to see what I have on my headline, how international community describe the real government in exile under their own law, not by the law of the Biafran people, not by what we think, not by how we feel, not by who we want. No. That is why we are here this afternoon to give you this particular program. So let us listen how they see it and how they view it and how they describe it. It is very important at this time that we are into. So let us listen to how they describe the real government in exile. Let us see how they were. Those, when you're going to Washington, D.C., when you're going to Washington, D.C., how Washington, D.C. describe the real government in exile, how UN, how every country in the world describe the real government in exile. Not by me, not by how I feel, not by what I think, not by how I reason, but it is how they reason because they are the judge over our case. We move to that right now. So listen, I will play the audio without saying a word. After that, then we will start analyzing the program.
Under public international law, the difference between an active administrative government in exile and a solely self-proclaimed, claimed only, government in exile comes down to state practice, formal recognition, host state legal sanction, and effective implementation of personal jurisdiction. 1. Government in exile, GIE, with peaceful issuances. This model combines a peaceful assertion of sovereignty, Redeclaration, with active, state-like administrative functions, issuing ID cards, nationality applications, and heritage certificates. How it functions. Personal jurisdiction. While the entity lacks physical/territorial enforcement on the ground, it exercises personal sovereignty over a willing population, such as diaspora communities or citizens living abroad. Creation of civil registries. The issuance of heritage certificates or nationality cards functions as a non-territorial census. It establishes a formal legal record of individuals who voluntarily submit to the entity's political identity. Host state consent, crucial standard. Under international law, an exiled government cannot issue documents or perform legal acts on foreign soil without the explicit formal permission of the host country. If the host state allows it, these acts carry diplomatic or functional weight inside that host nation. Legal standing under international law, travel and border validity, documents, passports, IDs, issued by this type of GIE are not automatically valid for international travel unless third-party states formally choose to accept them under bilateral agreements. Self-determination claim. The systematic registration of citizens serves as legal evidence of a defined population and a structured administrative body, strengthening its claim to statehood under the Montevideo criteria. 2. Government in exile without any one/claim only, passive or symbolic GIE. This model exists when an individual, group, or deposed regime declares itself a government in exile without establishing administrative mechanisms, without issuing documentation, and without active recognition or a registered public base. How it functions. Purely political/symbolic claim. The group relies exclusively on declarations, statements, or historical ties to assert that it is the true legal authority of a territory. No administrative machinery. It does not operate a civil registry, process applications, or perform public governance acts. Legal standing under international law. Lack of effective control and administration. Because international law favors factual reality, the declaratory theory of statehood, an entity that exists purely as a unilateral claim with no administrative structures carries zero operational legal weight under international law. Status in third-party states. Foreign countries view a claim-only GIE as a political advocacy organization, a political party in exile, or a non-governmental organization, NGO, not as a functioning government. Core comparison matrix feature. Active GIE, Redeclaration plus IDs, certificates. Passive GIE, claim-only, operational basis. Active administration of personal jurisdiction, civil registry, IDs, heritage forms. Purely declarative/rhetorical claims of legitimacy. Host-state relationship. Requires explicit host-state clearance to issue legal or quasi-legal instruments. Subject only to general host state laws on free speech/political assembly. Status of issued documents. May be recognized by specific allied states or used for internal diaspora registry. No documents issued, no civil registry exists. Weight in international law builds a legal evidentiary record of a governed population and operational entity, viewed legally as a political movement or NGO, lacking state-like characteristics. Summary of the difference under international law. The fundamental difference lies in functional implementation versus abstract claim. A government in exile that peacefully redeclares and issues identity instruments actively exercises non-territorial administration. Where permitted by host states or recognized by foreign powers, its administrative acts, like civil registration, hold practical and legal significance. A government in exile that exists as a claim only, without anyone, lacks the factual elements of governance. Under customary international law, a political claim without institutional operations or recognition remains purely symbolic.
Do you listen? I hope you heard the voice clearly. And you can simply understand how you know the Government in Exile and why, with what you have had here so far, among all these noise makers today and what is happening after 29th November 2024, with all that has been played out here, which government is the one that you think, with what you had here, that this is the real government in exile? That's the international community sees them as the real government in exile. I want you to answer if you listen to the audio. I want to know who listened to the audio very well. And I'm going to play for a second time, but the second time I'm going to be pausing it while playing it. But before that, I greet all of you on the comment section. I greet all of you. Today we have Anthony Umeje. You are the first person that comments today. You are the first person that comments. Good morning, my brother, Biafras TV. I am watching you from Chile. Yao, you're welcome, brother. We are everywhere in the world. South America. God bless you. God bless your platform, my brother. In Jesus' name, he say thank you. Thank you for that. And I have you, Ngozi said, hashtag, I am a citizen of Biafra. Hashtag, Nigeria must go. That is my protocol. Thank you for observing the law. Good afternoon, my lovely brother. Thank you so much, my dear. Edith Ogene said, good afternoon, Mazi and everyone. Yes, so when after the prayer of Mazi Kanu, Ngozi said, Ise. And I have here Florence Chinwe said, hashtag, I am a citizen of United States of Biafra, USB. Thank you. Bishop Onaga said, hashtag, I am a citizen of United States of Biafra, led by Dr. Ngozi Orabeze, Redeclared 29th November 2024 in Helsinki, Finland. That is where we are. There is no two ways about that. I see Amy Shike is here also. Thank you. Good day to you. And also said here, Mazi Shinondewo Mazi. And we have here, MEC, United States of Biafra government is the face of Biafra. Yes. And we have Gineka. I said Gineka Wafo. Hashtag, I am a citizen of the United States of Biafra. Hashtag, Nigeria must go. Thank you for that, all the way from homeland. Testimony said, their testimony said, good morning, Mazi Shino. Ahead we move. Thank you. That is it. No time to waste. Bishop Onaga have already answered the question. USB of Nuzarabeze is a highly reliant realm of restoration. Biafra for real. We move. Yes, that is where we are. And here we have KC. Wow. Amadi, you are here today. Thank you. Greetings from here, Maziri Biafra. Thank you for your teachings every day. Okike. Goziegi to Makameregi, my brother. Thank you so much for that. And here I have another barrister in the building. This guy, this Mazi is in every platform he comments, answer all the questions without wasting time. He also said, Ekwem said, hashtag, I am a citizen of the United States of Biafra. And here we have you, Eze. He said, all hail USBG. Thank you for that short message. And the Ife Dishi said, we move. And I have you at last here, Ikenna Mazi. Good afternoon. I am a Biafran. Thank you for that. So on that note, we proceed. Remember my question that nobody answered. I asked this question with what I have already played out. Which government is the real one, which we are understanding in what we are doing today as we are listening. Now, listen again. Friday, thank you so much for coming.
Under public international law, the difference between an active/administrative government in exile and a solely self-proclaimed, claimed only government in exile comes down to state practice, formal recognition, host state legal sanction, and effective implementation of personal jurisdiction. 1. Government in exile, GIE, with peaceful redeclaration and administrative issuances. This model combines a peaceful assertion of sovereignty, redeclaration, with active, state-like administrative functions, issuing ID cards, nationality applications, and heritage certificates. How it functions. Personal jurisdiction. While the entity lacks physical/territorial enforcement on the ground, it exercises personal sovereignty over a willing population, such as diaspora communities or citizens living abroad. Creation of civil registries. The issuance of heritage certificates or nationality cards functions as a non-territorial census. It establishes a formal legal record of individuals who voluntarily submit to the entity's political identity. Host state consent, crucial standard. Under international law, an exiled government cannot issue documents or perform legal acts on foreign soil without the explicit formal permission of the host country. If the host state allows it, these acts carry diplomatic or functional weight inside that host nation. Legal standing under international law, travel and border validity, documents, passports, IDs, issued by this type of GIE are not automatically valid for international travel unless third-party states formally choose to accept them under bilateral agreements. Self-determination claim. The systematic registration of citizens serves as legal evidence of a defined population and a structured administrative body, strengthening its claim to statehood under public international law. The difference between a legally recognized operational government in exile, GIE, and a nominal or purely self-proclaimed entity comes down to factual, legal, and diplomatic evidence. International law also defines what administrative and political work an exiled government can perform for its citizens, both those remaining in the homeland and those residing abroad. Part 1. Evidence of a real government in exile under international law. Because a government in exile lacks physical control over its territory, occupatio bellica, or usurpation, international courts and legal scholars evaluate its status using specific evidentiary indicators, evidentiary pillars of a real G1. Legal origin 2. Host state consent 3. Diplomatic and continuity in headquarters recognition. Constitutional/democratic continuity, origin of legitimacy. Evidence. Proof that the exiled body was the legally constituted, elected, or recognized governing authority immediately prior to being displaced by military force, illegal annexation, or a coup. Contrast. Unilateral groups formed in exile without prior democratic mandates or historical state continuity carry less legal weight under customary international law. Formal consent of the host state, headquarters agreement. Evidence. Explicit authorization or special status granted by the foreign host government, allowing the GIE to maintain offices, operate diplomatic property, and conduct state-like functions on host territory. Legal basis. Under principles of territorial sovereignty, UN Charter, Article 2.1, a foreign authority cannot perform administrative or sovereign acts in a foreign host country without express authorization. Bilateral and multilateral diplomatic recognition. Evidence. Receiving third-party state recognition as the de jure legal government, maintaining accredited embassies, exchanging diplomats, or signing international treaties. Example. The Polish, Belgian, and Norwegian governments in exile in London during World War II maintained full diplomatic missions and held foreign-held state assets. Continuous civil and personal jurisdiction. Evidence. Maintaining a functional administrative body that records vital statistics, manages diaspora civil registries, or manages public finances/assets. Part 2. The work and functions of a GIE for its citizens. An exiled government exercises personal jurisdiction, authority over people, rather than territorial jurisdiction, authority over land. Its work is split between citizens abroad and citizens in the occupied or contested homeland. 1. Work for citizens abroad, in exile and diaspora. Consular and legal identity services. Issuing travel documents, identity credentials, or certificates of nationality to refugees and diaspora members. Note, these documents are legally binding for travel or domestic identification only if third-party states formally agree to honor them. Protection and diplomatic advocacy. Advocating with foreign host nations for asylum protections, residence permits, and humanitarian relief for exiled citizens. Civil registration. Maintaining databases of births, marriages, deaths, and military/national service records to preserve continuous legal citizenship for future state restoration. Preservation of national assets. Managing state-owned accounts, international reserves, or diplomatic properties held abroad to prevent usurping regimes from liquidating national wealth. 2. Work for citizens in the homeland, international representation and advocacy. Filing claims before international judicial bodies, such as the International Court of Justice or International Human Rights Court, to challenge illegal occupation, human rights abuses, or unauthorized exploitation of national resources. Information and clandestine administration. Operating independent news channels, broadcasting, and information networks to counter regime propaganda and communicate national directives to the local population. Channeling humanitarian aid. Coordinating international sanctions against the occupying or usurping power while directing international humanitarian funding and aid packages into the homeland through non-governmental channels. Preparation for post-occupation transition. Drafting transitional constitutions, legal frameworks, and peace accords so that legal order can be immediately restored upon returning to the homeland. Summary matrix sphere. Operational focus, legal basis and tools, homeland citizens. Diplomatic advocacy, legal challenges at the UNHCR, public communication, transition planning. Self-determination principles, customary international law on non-recognition of illegal force. Citizens abroad, issuing passports, IDs, refugee advocacy, civil registration, managing diaspora affairs, personal/active nationality jurisdiction, host state special sanctions, evidence of legitimacy, democratic continuity, host state treaty rights, diplomatic recognition, active administration, Montevideo criteria, personal jurisdiction, constitutive, declaratory recognition theories.
I hope you are listening to know the real government in exile. And they bring example of Belgium, Poland, when these two countries was in exile in London. There is what they did in their own time. That is why from the example, they're giving us, now they are example to us of what the government in exile of Belgium, Poland, Baltic State, Lithuania, even France, what they did in their own time. Because this country I mentioned, had it here, all of them, there was in exile when their territory was occupied by the German. Because you know that when it's come to occupying territory, that British and Germany did the worst. But you can listen to how Belgium and Poland, that they start issuing after they have already declared their lost nation that was being occupied by Germany and the Soviet Union, that the government of the Belgium that was in exile start issue ID card, passports, birth certificates. Today, which government among all this you can see on my background who claim they are briggy, they are this and that? Who is the one that issued this document? I have a brother from TikTok. He said, Stephen said that is United States of Biafra, led by Consular and her cabinet member. This brother on the TikTok answered the question like our brother Bishop Onaga. When we ask this question, in this program today of how Belgian government in exile, Poland, when there was in exile, how they restored their nation on this, and they give the example of what they was doing to prove that this is the real government in exile. And the question should be, are they only the one that was in exile? Why giving the example when you ask about the real government in exile? Is because of what? They acted on a legal part. The real government in exile must be acting on the legal part of all the things that's proven through Belgium that USB is doing today. If Belgium can undergo this process, and today they are a full nation of their own, as you are listening, and today USB is repeating that the same history, don't you think that the USB is doing the right thing at this right time to prove that this is the real government in exile? So simply mean we can call USB declared, leading by our DPM, Dr. Ngozi Arabeze, the real government in exile of the people of United States of Biafra. That is why I said you can never be a judge over your case. You can eat your orange and have it back. You can write your exam and mark it by yourself and pronounce your position, but rather you got to let the supervisor and the teachers to mark and score, give you a score. So with the score of all the international community under their own law, not by you who claim that you are a Biafran, not by you who claim that you are a Biafran, that are looking at Brigi is the government in exile, and in that Brigi, you have Brigi 1, Brigi 2, Brigi 3, Brigi 4. Why we have only one united state of Biafra, that under the international community law, that USB is proving that this is the real government in exile by 1, issuing ID card, number 2, preparing our passports, number 2, preparing our they are preparing our passports, number 3, our currency, number 4, the birth certificate that all of us are, the government have dished out to us, asking us that we have to complete this. Can't you see that this is the example of what Belgium, Poland did in their own time when there was in exile in 1949 to 1990, which took them over 59 years or 51 years of Belgium be in London in this evil United Kingdom. As you can hear from here, example has already been there before us. And whatever we are doing today is we are following the existing plates that are there before us, how every nation achieved their own. And it must be on the legal part. And on that legal part is where you have the right. On this legal part is where you have the right to do what? To start all that USB government is doing today. Under the public international law, government in exile is to prove the real one, legitimate the Jew entity rather than a symbolic movement, depend on a claim legal criteria. You hear this word, depend on a claim legal criteria. Whole state legal framework is most important to her? No. What is this whole state legal framework on a government in exile that is the real one? You must abide by their law. That is why the government of USB registered every organization, everything under US organization through the FERA in Washington, D.C. Sorry, in US. Or anyway, you can call it so far as US. So that thing or that measure that they took is to obey the law. And the law of America allow us to operate from exile in their own, that is, they are the host nation, where our deputy prime minister is operating from. And their law permitted us to be acting as a government. Let's continue the program. Now we play, we pause, we analyze it for you to see how the international community, how the all international community describe the real government in exile under their own law. Because you, that's under IPOB, is calling UN for self-referendum. You, under Brigi, claims the fake Brigi of Ogenkere, which I call the automobile mechanic government in exile. Why do I call them that? So now Akrawa is repairing phone. Ogenkere is a mechanic. And the worst mechanic he is the Panebita one. That is why I said that their government is what? Automobile mechanic government in exile of Sonny Akwarawa and the Ogenkere. So whenever you heard me mention about automobile mechanic government in exile, I am referring to Ogenkere and Sani Aprawa and the layers, and anybody who claim that they're under bridge of Ogenkere. I hope you are following. So let us proceed. That was in time. That was in time.
Under public international law, determining whether a government in exile, GIE, is a real, legitimate de jure entity rather than a symbolic movement depends on clear legal criteria, host state legal frameworks, and practical work done for citizens.
Do you hear the word? It depends on what? On a legal criteria, not by knocking woto. And as we are proceeding, as we are moving to the program, you will understand this legal criteria that it depends on. You are going to hear what makes the government in exile, if it's men on ground or military. We will find out today. So, the government in exile also respect the law of the country where they reside. And today, USB is respecting the law of US and also Finland and everywhere we reside today. That is why we are acting on a legal document. Number one, legal evidence of a real government in exile. Now listen to it.
Evidence of a real government in exile, because a GE lacks physical territorial control over its homeland, occupatio bellica or usurpation, international courts and legal doctrine evaluate its status based on three main pillars.
Now, on three main pillars, that you will know the real government in exile. With what we have already been explaining to you, do you really believe that is usually declared, leading by our DP is the real government in exile we have? Are you still doubting it, or are you still having double mind on it? I'm asking you. Are you having double mind on it? That is the only government you have is real, is US declared. Now, let us see these three main pillars. And also, because government in exile lack fiscal territory control over its homeland. Are you hearing it? The world knows that what makes us government in exile, that we lost a fiscal control of our territory. And they knew. And they make it openly. It's because of what? The oppressor or those who occupied our territory. It is very obvious in their own eyes. So let us go and check it is a status based on three main pillars.
Origin of legitimacy, constitutional continuity.
Remark the word, origin of legitimacy, the constitutional continuity. The constitutional word continuity, proving that our case is not just a new nation. That is, when you hear the word continuity, simply means we are continuing from where Ojukwu stopped, and we are moving. That is from where we move forward. That is why we have issued a peaceful declaration, and we have a well-structured government in exile.
Pre-existing democratic/constitutional mandate.
Pre-existing democratic and constitutional mandate. What is this constitutional mandate? Let's listen to this.
Proof that the exiled body was the legally constituted, elected, or constitutional government immediately prior to displacement, e.g., World War II Allied governments in exile in London.
Now we listen. Let's take it one by one so you will understand. And I ask question. Only one person on TikTok is answering the question I asked. With what you are hearing already, who is the real government in exile in your own, not in your own, under this public international law to prove the real government in exile? Please, I want you to be commenting. Let us be having a program together. Let us find out. Now, prove that the exile body was the legal constituted, elected, or constitutional government immediately prove to displacement. E.g., example, World War, Allied government in exile in London. There is some government in exile in London towards the Second World War and everything that happened towards that time. Now, why are they giving us this example? For you to know the real government in exile. Remember this word, original of legitimacy, of constitutional continuity. Remark that word, that we continue from where Ojukwu stopped, where was Wike stopped, to where Mazda Nakano stopped, to where Mazda Manuel is right now. All these things are continuity, is what we are doing. And now we have come to the end point, which is US will declare the only way to restore the lost nation. That is why you see our Deputy Prime Minister and from Diana here, because these are proving the real government in exile of the people of Biafra with the name entitled United States of Biafra towards 2026.
Ex injuria jus non oritur principle, illegal occupation or a coup does not legally extinguish the state's continuity or the constitutional mandate of its legitimate officials.
Are you hearing it? When you issue a peaceful declaration, the ex injuris non oritur principle must be implemented. Illegal occupation or an occupier does not legally extinguish the state's continuity after a peaceful declaration or the constitutional mandate of its legitimate official. This is how and how we proceed, and that is where USB is moving very well under this law, proving that we are the real government of the people. Now, this government of the people is the real one under this law, or what we are doing today. Let's proceed to B. Then the B, host state sanction headquarters agreement. Let's proceed.
B, host state sanction headquarters agreement. Explicit legal permission. Under UN Charter Article 2.1, territorial sovereignty, a foreign authority cannot perform government acts inside another country without express permission.
Yes. Today, USB has taken permission. How? By putting the movement to be monitored by FERA in Washington, D.C. or in U.S. That proving that we stand on this law of the whole state sanction headquarters agreement. What are these whole state sanction headquarters agreement? Is the USB liaison or the embassy in America. If there is no agreement, our DPM can never open her holy mouth to say that we have embassy if we do not have it. Because of what? You must have an agreement first before you will open such a thing in a host country. And what we open in America is the headquarters of the University of Biafra for those that in America. Expert legal permission under the UN Article 2(1), territorial sovereignty. A foreign authority cannot perform government acts inside another country without asking for permission. You must ask for permission, and the USB has asked for this permission. That is why in any country where you are today, if you see liaison office, you are asking for the right thing to do. Special eligible status, proof of a formal treaty or legislation passed by the host nation grant diplomatic status, immunity, and the permission to run official state apparatus on a host territory. That is why FERA registration is very, very sacrosanct, and it is very important, and that is the legal way. That is why USB rush into and do it on a legal path. So we can be able to operate. That's why we have the legal right to operate in any country we are today.
Special enabling statutes. Proof of a formal treaty or legislation passed by the host nation granting diplomatic status, immunity, and permission to run official state apparatuses on host territory. C. Diplomatic and international recognition, de jure recognition, formal recognition by foreign nations or accreditation at international organizations, e.g. UN, EU, African Union, control of foreign assets, courts or host country treasuries, accepting the GIE as the sole authority authorized to manage state bank accounts, embassies, and state-owned property located abroad.
Today, people are calling our embassies or whatever they may think that they're calling it, but the world and their own view is quite different. How the world view what we are doing and how they see it is quite different from the way we are seeing it. That is why I told you that it's not in under our own law, under our own thinking, under our own how we feel. It is by the criteria that has already been there before you. That is why if you know what I'm doing today, I ask you, if you send to your child to school today, are they going to implement because of your child? Their child will stand on existing, repeating the history of the law, how other people pass out from school. And that is what USB is doing. That is exactly what USB declared is doing at this stage that we are into. It is very, very imperative and very important that you understand this thing, so you cannot be able to be confused. You can also be able to defend yourself when you jam all these hoodlums, criminals, fake people everywhere. See, diplomatic and international recognition, the dual recognition, formally recognition from foreign nation or accreditation at international organizations, e.g. UN, EU, African Union, control of foreign assets, courts or host country treasurer accepting the GIE as the sole authority authorized to manage the state bank account, embassy, and state-owned property located abroad. I hope you are following. I hope you are seeing why USB is under this, how international community describe the real government in exile under their own law. You can now see that USB has met all these criteria. That is why we are operating as the real government in exile. Now go to number 2.
2. Practical work of a GIE for citizens.
Listen.
Because an exiled government operates through personal jurisdiction, authority over nationals, rather than territorial jurisdiction, authority over land, its work divides between citizens abroad and citizens in the homeland. Operational work of a real GE for citizens abroad, diaspora, for citizens in the homeland. Consular identity documents, international court litigation, refugee and asylum advocacy, transitional law drafting. Work for citizens abroad, exiles, refugees, diaspora. Civil identity and registration, establishing civil registries to record births, marriages, and deaths to preserve legal citizenship continuity. Issuance of credentials.
Are you hearing it? And I ask this question, USB, are they issuing ID card, credential, certificate to the Biafran people? I ask you, USB, what is being played out here? USB declared under our DPM and all the cabinet members, are they doing this? Please answer me through your comments. So I know that you are here, you are watching. USB declared, are they doing what is being played out here? How to know the real government in exile? And I want to urge you, if you are watching me from YouTube, please like and share the program. If it's the first time of joining me, you will see a 3 dot in front of your phone. Click on that 3 dot to open. You will like and share. Those on the comment section is bigger than those who like the program. Please. Thank you so much, Amy Christ. And Emmanuel said, Emmanuel Iwunze. Is it our honorable that I'm thinking about? Maybe if it's honorable, I greet you. Honorable cabinet member, if you, I greet you so much. So you can see it's a big yes that USB is the one on that criteria of all international community, with all this example of how you know the real government in exile. And the only government in exile you have is proven by with the name United States of Biafran, leading by Dr. Ngozarabeg and all the cabinet members. What are those things that makes this government in exile the original, the real, and the legitimate government of the people is what? 2, the practical work of government in exile for their own citizen. The practical work for a government in exile for their own citizen, both in the homeland, both in diaspora, and every other thing that surrounds the movement that we are into. That is why it is very important to listen to this. So you will know why you are supporting USB, that under the international community and under their own law of the criteria of a real government in exile, that is only USB maintain it and stand on this level. Why? Because of an exile government operates through professional personal jurisdiction, authority over nationals, rather than territorial jurisdiction, authority over the land. It works drives between citizens abroad and citizens in the homeland. Today, as USB is giving us ID card, those in the diaspora, and preparing our currency and every other thing, are they also doing anything for those in the homeland? The answer is yes. That is why we are rushing for our word. Now we are asking you to fill what? The certificate of our own lost nation, for you to prove that you have your nation. And also, if you're getting married today, ask USB to give you a certificate of your marriage. This is the things that the government is doing, both in diaspora and the homeland. Operational work of a government in exile, the real one. Citizens abroad, diaspora. Consular identity document, civil status registration, refugee and asylum advocacy. USB, are they issuing all this to us? If you're in diaspora today, USB, are they issuing these first documents that are mentioned for those in diaspora? The answer is a big yes. You have had the testimony of many brothers, sisters, who the government give the document of asylum and it worked perfectly for them on the eve of the deportation of them, because of the USB give them this asylum document, and nobody deported them anymore. This is the areas you knowing and the criteria of the real government in exile. This is not by us, but it is by the give us an example, listening to here, the example of Belgium, Poland, Baltic States, Lithuania, many of them, how France, when they was in exile, in London, how they achieved their country, and the work that they was doing for their own people. And this is not the same work that USB declared is doing today. The answer is a big yes. The answer is what? A big yes. Let us proceed. Now, for what USB has to do for their citizen in the homeland of the 40 states of the Biafra, under the international law and how they look at it, listen. For citizens in the homeland, international courts and the diplomatic representation transition to draft a certificate of birth certificate, heritage certificate, and the marriage certificate, and proving that there is those that are taking care of this government. And today, the USB is what? doing all this to the people of what? Biafra. That is why it is very important at this stage that you must understand why you must channel your energy, your strength, and everything on the side of the United States of Biafra, because of all these working legal documents to prove the real government in exile. Working for citizens abroad, exile, refugee, diaspora, USB, are they working for you in abroad, please? Do you have USB ID card? Do you have USB ID card? Before I will allow you to join the bus to talk, you will hold on. Let me put what I'm doing in some minutes. Then I will open floor for everyone, both those on TikTok, those on YouTube. So bear with me. Then you can ask you. But before that, are you a Biafran? Is my question to you. Are you a Biafran? That is my question. You on TikTok, I want to join and ask me a question. Are you a Biafran? You have to answer that question first on the comment section before the time to allow you to join us. Now, under this work, under this headline, working for citizens abroad, exile, refugee, and diaspora, it has from number 1 to number 4. So let us go towards it. Listen. Thank you so much, Emmanuel. Wounds. I believe that this is the wounds I'm thinking about. It is a cabinet member. I think so. If not,
issuing passports, identity cards, or nationality/heritage certificates, valid for travel/residence only where recognized by host or third-party states.
Now, are you listening to this? Number 1, the civil identity that leads to recognition, establishing civil registered to record birth certificates, marriage certificates, and the death to the private legal citizenship continuity. That the USB have to issue what? Establish a registered record of birth certificate, marriage certificate, proving the legal citizenship continuity, that you are in the old Republic of Biafra, in the new United States of Biafra. Now, you see how this works together. Number 1, for those in the diaspora, I'm asking you, if you're in the diaspora, do you have any document from the USB? And all this one that is encouraging all of us to go and apply, are you applying for it? Are you applying for it? Please, those on TikTok, like the StreamYard. You are not liking much, but you are so much on TikTok, but you are not showing like. Please like for other people to get the message. Please like the program. Like the program. TikTok, do so. And those on the YouTube, please, if you never like the program, like, so people will come. I am not here to preach anybody. I am not here to analyze anybody. I'm here to present to the Biafran people what I have been researching and why I am a full, proud citizen of United States of Biafra. Because I have seen that this is the only way to restore this nation that we have been looking for. Okay, I'm not even asking you that question. I am asking those on the TikTok. Brother who asked me he wants to join me. So I asked him to first identify himself before he can join. Because we don't know who is who these days. They are trying to destroy our platforms through the rubbish they are showing. That is why we are like to clarify before we bring you in. Now, what are the more things that, they said is 4 pillars to prove the regiment in exile. Now we're number 1. Then number 2, insurance of credital card, issuing passport, identity ID card, or nationality heritage certificate, valued for traveling residents only when organized by host or third-party state. All these documents and what you just had here right now, USB, are they calling Biafrans to come and take their own? Look at the word they use: issuing passports, identity ID card, or nationality heritage certificates. All these things are being valued for travel once USB achieved recognition as the regiment in exile. The case closed. That is number 2. Number 3, consulates and the legal protection. Today, do we have consulate? Yes. The mission head is what the consulate of USA declared because of being a government in exile. If you are on that position, I want to know your job. Now let's proceed. Advocating within the host governments and the UNHCR. This is a law that protects government in exile that issue a document to prove legal path. Protects exile citizens from false repatriation or legal discrimination. Instead of to deport any of us, the legal documents through our consular is why anyone who give you a document of USB that you use to seek asylum and ship, that is what they call in their own terms of the word consulate. And we call it what? Mission head. I hope you get it clearly. Now, preserving the national identity, managing national archive, educational and the crucial and the culture found to maintain identity in exile. USB is doing everything to make that we put on this level, and today is working for you as we declared.
Consular and legal protection, advocating with host governments and the UNHCR to protect exiled citizens from forced repatriation or legal discrimination. Preserving national identity, managing national archives, educational curricula, and cultural funds to maintain identity in exile.
Are you hearing it? These are the work of the regiment in exile. It's not by spelling Brigi, B-I-G-I-E, Brigi. That is only what you can ever to spell Ogenkere. Not that thing. And when you look at everything we are playing out today, is in the favor of the legal place into US declared. I hope you understand it. When I see you, thank you so much. Madam goes, I see you, thank you so much. Look at how the law describes everything. And look at those that you are calling. And when you are going to Washington, D.C., there is criteria, there is things to prove. It's not by mouth. It's not by wearing suits. It's not by carrying portfolio to Washington, D.C. It is by the action that based on international community under their own law, not how you, Sonia Akwarawa, Elias, Oge, and all of you, Shiamaka, Jerry, and all of you think Mama Duabo. It's not. Rubinad and all of them, all these criminals. That is not the way. The way has been there under the international law. And you must follow this existing protocol. You must follow this existing protocol. There is no shortcut. And remember that this is only for a government in exile that have issued official peaceful redeclaration of a lost nation. You continue.
Work for citizens in the homeland, diplomatic advocacy and litigation, representing the nation before international tribunals, e.g. the International Court of Justice, to challenge illegal occupation, human rights violations, or natural resource theft.
Please like and share if
and
you're
civic
YouTube,
directives,
TikTok.
operating
Please,
news
I encourage you to like the
platforms,
program,
satellite
please.
broadcasts, and communications to counter occupying propaganda and issue national guidance, humanitarian coordination, channeling.
That is why you will see many medias debunking the lies of these criminals. And everything that we are doing is in line. Because we must debunk their lies. We must set records straight.
Aid and development funds into the homeland via international non-governmental networks without legitimizing the occupying force. Transitional planning, drafting post-occupation constitutions, legal reforms, and reconciliation frameworks for when state control is restored. Summary make.
I hope you have listened to how the United Nations, Washington, D.C., congressmen, lobby, how they see and know the government in exile. How they describe what government in exile. And in this, the way they describe government in exile, who do you that it falls under this? Is only U.S. we declared has fall. That is criteria of all the international community, not by what you feel, not by what I think, not of who you are, but it is for you to stand on this legal protocol, this legal template, how to restore a nation via a government in exile, and also to prove the real government in exile. Humanitarian. That is why today the USB is doing humanitarian fundraising. That is what the law approved. That is when they said that after a peaceful declaration, that you must transition into international standard. And that is what USB has transitioned into. So all these Okoko them here, and you can see our DPM smiling with our Fam Diana. These are people that are present us under the legal part of how to restore our lost nation via government in exile. That Chukwemeka Odimego Odimego said Biafra will come from diaspora and is coming, and you are there making noise. In summary, listen.
Sphere, legal evidence, practical work delivered, status proof, constitutional continuity, host state enabling agreements, third-party de jure recognition, exercising personal jurisdiction over nationals abroad, citizens abroad, special consular privileges granted by host countries, passports, identity cards, civil registration, asylum advocacy, citizens at home, sovereign standing in international law and global forums, ICJ litigation, diplomatic representation, humanitarian aid, post-restoration legal planning.
If you want to join us from the YouTube, the link is there to join us. Then brother who is asking from TikTok, you can also send, I can also bring you in if you want to join and put your voice on today's program. So I'm going to play it again for you to understand it clearly. How you know the real government in exile. It's not by church or church. Is by pen and paper documents. It's not by going to Washington, D.C. It is by the work that they are doing for their citizens. Is how you know the real government in exile. And as you can see today, and there is main legal requirement of the real government in exile. So listen to this as I play another section right now to back up what I was doing today. What I'm doing here today, please. So please, if you want to join us, the link is there from the YouTube line. This is USB Research TV. They send them on TikTok, they send them on YouTube.
Under public international law, when a government in exile, GIE, issues a peaceful redeclaration of a lost country, claiming legal continuity, restored sovereignty, or self-determination, Its validity relies on specific legal evidence and defined operational mechanisms for citizens both at home and abroad. 1. Evidence of a real government in exile issuing a redeclaration. A peaceful redeclaration is an assertion of de jure, legal sovereignty. International law looks beyond the proclamation itself to evaluate whether the entity possesses genuine legal authority. Evidentiary pillars of a real G1. Constitutional preserves legal/democratic continuity prior to displacement/occupation. 2. Host state status and formal agreement permitting sanctioned sovereign functions on foreign land. 3. International third-party states recognize the recognition GIE over the occupying regime. 4. Active personal functional administration over a jurisdiction voluntary citizen registry. Key legal evidence required. Constitutional or historical continuity. Evidence. Proof of a legal link to the state's prior constitutional order, pre-existing democratic mandate, or historical treaty rights immediately before the loss of territory, e.g., occupation, annexation, or usurpation. Legal principle. The doctrine of ex injuria jus non oritur, illegal acts do not create law, means an illegal occupation does not extinguish the legal continuity of the displaced state. Explicit host state sanction, headquarters agreement. Evidence. A formal bilateral agreement or legislative act by the host country granting the GIE legal standing to operate diplomatic missions, hold offices, and perform public acts on foreign territory. Legal principle. Under Article 2(1) of the UN Charter, a GIE cannot perform sovereign or administrative acts inside a host country without express authorization. International diplomatic recognition. Evidence. Formal recognition by foreign nations. Accreditation at international organizations, e.g., the United Nations or regional bodies, or the maintenance of official embassies. Declaratory versus constitutive impact. While statehood relies on factual criteria, Montevideo Convention 1933, third-party recognition serves as strong legal evidence that the international community accepts the Redeclaration. Functional civil registry and personal jurisdiction. Evidence. Maintaining active databases, issuing civil credentials, IDs, nationality applications, heritage certificates, and demonstrating that a defined body of nationals voluntarily identifies with and submits to the entity's authority. 2. Work of an exiled government for citizens abroad. Since a GE lacks physical control over its homeland territory, its work for diaspora and exiled citizens operates under personal, active nationality jurisdiction. Consular services and civil registration, issuing identity credentials, passports, nationality certificates, and civil status documents, birth, marriages, lineage/heritage records. Validity. These documents are valid for international transit or legal identity only to the extent that host states or allied foreign governments choose to recognize them. Protection of refugee and diaspora rights. Advocating before host governments and international organizations, e.g. UNHCR, to ensure exiled citizens receive legal residency, protection against forced repatriation, and asylum rights. Preserving national assets and legal funds. Managing state assets, foreign currency reserves, or diplomatic properties held abroad to prevent usurping powers from liquidating national wealth. Cultural and educational continuity. Establishing heritage frameworks, national archives, and educational programs to preserve national identity and history across generations in the diaspora. 3. Work of an exiled government for citizens in the homeland. For citizens remaining in the claimed or occupied territory, the GIE operates primarily through diplomatic, legal, and international channels. Diplomatic representation and legal challenges. Representing the sovereign voice of the population in global forums, e.g. UN General Assembly, regional bodies. Initiating proceedings before international judicial bodies, such as the International Court of Justice or International Human Rights Courts, to challenge illegal occupation, resource exploitation, or human rights violations. Information broadcasting and civic directives. Running official communications, satellite broadcasts, and digital platforms to provide accurate news, counter propaganda, and maintain communication with citizens in the homeland. Humanitarian and financial coordination. Directing international aid, development funds, and targeted assistance into the homeland through non-governmental or international channels without legitimizing the occupying force. Transitional governance and legal frameworks. Preparing transitional constitutions, administrative policies, and peace accords so that when territorial control is restored, legal order and public administration can be re-established seamlessly. Comparative legal matrix dimension. Active GIE with redeclaration and civil registry. Solitary nominal claim only entity, legal basis. Personal jurisdiction supported by historical continuity or recognition. unilateral political assertion lacking functional governance, work for citizens abroad, civil registration, identity issuance, consular advocacy, asset management, limited to political activism and public campaigning, work for homeland citizens, international litigation, diplomatic advocacy, transitional lawmaking, theoretical declarations without institutional follow-through, weight in international law, recognized as an operational legal entity where host state consent or recognition exists, classified as a private political organization or advocacy group. Under public international law, when a government in exile, GIE, issues a peaceful redeclaration of a lost country, claiming legal continuity, restored sovereignty, or self-determination, its validity relies on specific legal evidence and defined operational mechanisms for citizens both at home and abroad. 1. Evidence of a real government in exile issuing a redeclaration. A peaceful redeclaration is an assertion of de jure, legal, sovereignty. International law looks beyond the proclamation itself to evaluate whether the entity possesses genuine legal authority. Evidentiary pillars of a real G1. Constitutional preserves legal/democratic continuity prior to displacement/occupation 2. Host state status and formal agreement permitting sanctioned sovereign functions on foreign land. 3. International third-party states recognize the recognition GIE over the occupying regime. 4. Active personal functional administration over a jurisdiction voluntary citizen registry. Key legal evidence required. Constitutional or historical continuity. Evidence. Proof of a legal link to the state's prior constitutional order, pre-existing democratic mandate, or historical treaty rights immediately before the loss of territory, e.g., occupation, annexation, or usurpation. Legal principle. The doctrine of ex injuria jus non oritur, illegal acts do not create law, means an illegal occupation does not extinguish the legal continuity of the displaced state. Explicit host state sanction, headquarters agreement. Evidence. A formal bilateral agreement or legislative act by the host country, granting the GIE legal standing to operate diplomatic missions, hold offices, and perform public acts on foreign territory. Legal principle. Under Article 2(1) of the UN Charter, a GIE cannot perform sovereign or administrative acts inside a host country without express authorization. International diplomatic recognition. Evidence. Formal recognition by foreign nations, accreditation at international organizations, e.g., the United Nations or regional bodies, or the maintenance of official embassies. Declaratory versus constitutive impact. While statehood relies on factual criteria, Montevideo Convention 1933, third-party recognition serves as strong legal evidence that the international community accepts the Redeclaration. Functional civil registry and personal jurisdiction. Evidence. Maintaining active databases, issuing civil credentials, IDs, nationality applications, heritage certificates, and demonstrating that a defined body of nationals voluntarily identifies with and submits to the entity's authority. 2. Work of an exiled government for citizens abroad. Since a GE lacks physical control over its homeland territory, its work for diaspora and exiled citizens operates under personal, active nationality jurisdiction. Consular services and civil registration, issuing identity credentials, passports, nationality certificates, and civil status documents, births, marriages, lineage/heritage records. Validity. These documents are valid for international transit or legal identity only to the extent that host states or allied foreign governments choose to recognize them. Protection of refugee and diaspora rights. Advocating before host governments and international organizations, e.g. UNHCR, to ensure exiled citizens receive legal residency, protection against forced repatriation, and asylum rights. Preserving national assets and legal funds. Managing state assets, foreign currency reserves, or diplomatic properties held abroad to prevent usurping powers from liquidating national wealth. Cultural and educational continuity. Establishing heritage frameworks, national archives, and educational programs to preserve national identity and history across generations in the diaspora. 3. Work of an exiled government for citizens in the homeland. For citizens remaining in the claimed or occupied territory, the GIE operates primarily through diplomatic, legal, and international channels. Diplomatic representation and legal challenges. Representing the sovereign voice of the population in global forums, e.g. UN General Assembly, regional bodies. Initiating proceedings before international judicial bodies, such as the International Court of Justice or International Human Rights Courts, to challenge illegal occupation, resource exploitation, or human rights violations. Information broadcasting and civic directives. running official communications, satellite broadcasts, and digital platforms to provide accurate news, counter-propaganda, and maintain communication with citizens in the homeland, humanitarian and financial coordination, directing international aid, development funds, and targeted assistance into the homeland through non-governmental or international channels without legitimizing the occupying force, transitional governance and legal frameworks, preparing transitional constitutions, administrative policies, and peace accords so that when territorial control is restored, legal order and public administration can be re-established seamlessly. Comparative legal matrix dimension, active GIE with Redeclaration and civil registry, solitary nominal claim-only entity, legal basis, personal jurisdiction supported by historical continuity or recognition, unilateral political assertion lacking functional governance, work for citizens abroad, civil registration, identity issuance, consular advocacy, asset management, limited to political activism and public campaigning, work for homeland citizens, international litigation, diplomatic advocacy, transitional lawmaking, theoretical declarations without institutional follow-through, weight in international law, recognized as an operational legal entity where host state consent or recognition exists, classified as a private political organization or advocacy group.
When you listen to all this, and the question comes to you to answer, among all the noisemakers, and what is happening after you redeclared, now within your own mindset on what is all about, how United Nations and all these countries that people are calling today, even though inside Bush, who is calling Netanyahu, Donald Trump, jail, we are fighting for freedom. With all this, if question come to you, the criteria under the international community and their own law, who is the real government in exile of the Biafran people? Who is the real government in exile of the Biafran people? Do you need to think twice before you answer this question? Because this question has been answered. We have answered the question of all these noisemakers. That is why at this stage that we are into, it is very, very imperative that you channel all your strengths, all your mindsets on US Redeclared as the only real, remember that word, original, the real government in exile of the Biafran people is being led by Tongozi Arabeze with the name United States of Biafra, that was redeclared on November 20, 1924. That is what Abato Obie was pushing and fighting for, to restore this lost nation in a legal path, to prove to the world that we have understand how to restore our nation on legal part of it, not by gun and bullets, not by illegal parts. Why do I sound like this? Since over all these years, with Masob, IPOB, and all of them who claim they're fighting for Biafra, we have been on the illegal part of how to restore this nation. The first legal way was time of Ojukwu. What Ojukwu did his own time is legal, because this is the only way to restore a nation. Time of Chukwuemeka Ojukwu. But the only one thing that Chukwuemeka Ojukwu failed to give us is that transition to government in exile. Says what? The transition to government in exile, the only legal way to restore after they have handed over the mandate to the Biafran government, to Nigerian government. So when you observe what we are playing out today under my research, then you will understand that you have a government. And that the only government you have is only United State of Biafra redeclared. That is the only government we have at this stage. And there is no other one. Because in all the criteria and all the legal way to restore a lost nation, like what you heard about Belgium, Poland, and many of them, in Africa, we think about countries like Namibia, Algeria, Eritrea. People start making it to look like nobody or people has never lost their country and gain it back. And our people also make it to look like that we are the only first government in exile. We are not the only first government in exile. And we are not going to be the last. People in the past have formed government in exile starting from 1949. Even at this 2026, people are forming government in exile. When you form a government in exile, the thing needed to do is to follow the existing protocol and the criteria of those that has been there before us. And in all these years, we have never been on the template of how other nations achieve their nation through the government in exile. And our people are acting under the ignorance of not knowing history and is taking it as an excuse. That is why when they form organization, once anyone remains as executive or a cabinet member, he doesn't want to move away. Because of what? He believes that is the only way to achieve our lost nation. But we want everyone to understand that the right time and the right way that the world prove how to restore this nation is now that after the US declared and what the government is doing. Because of what? There is a full criteria under the legal how you can be able to restore a lost nation. And when you have government in exile, there is a work for the government in exile. How to protect the citizens in abroad, their own citizens in abroad, and how to protect their own citizens in the homeland. And the question is it by gun and bullets? The answer is no. It's by a legal document. It's by the things that USB is providing to us right now. It's the only way. What are those things? They thought about issuing ID card, issuing passport, and also issuing birth certificates. Remember, Chimobi, John, if you want to apply this particular we have ID card right now from diaspora, and also, I want to know the one you want. The ID card is only for those in diaspora right now. Why the birth certificate or the certificate of proof that of you a Biafran, that one is for those in the homeland. So that is why I'm asking. So let me know the one you are looking for, and if you're looking for any of this link, so I want you to tell me the one, and the only way I can send it to you, because they do not allow us to place on our comment section, is when you are on the WhatsApp group. We normally post it every day, so that is the only way you can be able to get it from me, because I have it and I post it every 2 weeks. I repost it again. Also, this our birth certificate, I have all of them. So when you make up your mind the one you really want, then let me know. So when the USB is issuing all these birth certificate and ID card to the Biafran people, then it's a criteria to prove a real government. The real government is what? It's a criteria to prove that this is the real government of the people. I am not the one that's saying it. And under my research, my question that I asked them is this. Under international law, what are the evidence of the government in exile and the work to their citizens in the homeland and in exile? And what you are hearing that is coming out from here is what they give me. After looking at it by myself, I said, okay, let me come out, give it to Biafran. So you will understand that the only real government in exile we have is United State of Biafra, that is leading by Otongozo Rabeze. That is the only government in exile. Okay, the homeland. Then contact me on this WhatsApp number, so I will send the link to you. +9733 6051 337. I repeat, plus 97 plus 97 33 60 51 337. Lawrence, I see you. Thanks so much. So this is when you contact me on that number, send a message there, then I will send you the link. I will do what? I will just send you the link. So I urge every Biafran that are watching this program to like and share the program. The more you are liking when you enter, that is how people will get notification of what we are doing. So I urge you to like and share the program. I urge you to like and share the program. So for more people to know that we are live and we are direct. So I will play the audio again to refresh your mind, so that you can queue in line what we're doing today. And I said the link is there in case if you don't want to join, because my time is running very fast. So if you want to join me, the time is now, not when I want to go. Please, I urge you to like and share the program, please. The like today is very poor. So many people will not get the message, because it's only when you share the program is when many people are getting the message. Like I said, if it's your first time joining me, there is a 3 dot in front of your phone. Click on that 3 dot, it will open, you will see like and share. So remember what we are doing. we are doing the evidence, how you know the government in exile under the international community. When we talk about international community, we are talking about countries first, and the UN, EU, and the AU. Under their law of the legal principle is what I stand on. The law that proves that the only legitimate government in exile, how you can know the real government in exile, that is what I am giving out, because I want to know why I am supporting, I want to know why I accepted the Redeclaration. Remember, I am not supporting Gozo Arabeze. Said what? I am not supporting Ngozi Arabeze. I am a citizen of United States of Biafra. For me, I follow the message. I do not follow the messenger. So, listen to this again. How you know the real government in exile. How you know the real government in exile. It's not about what I think. It's not about who you are. It's not about who you feel, how you feel. It's not about I've been agitating for Biafra for 12 years and you just come now. You want me to accept you as a leader. It's not about that. It is about the legal part. It is about who is doing the real thing. Who is doing the real work. Who is doing the real work is what is very important for us to know. And the real work is being done by the US declared government led by Dr. Ngozi Arabeze is only one. Through what we have researched and what they give us, it's not about making mouth. It's not about who are you? What do you think? What do you have? Which year you started for Biafra? It is about the real, the right, and the legal part. That is what is more important, and that is the only way you can have this nation that we are fighting for. And after you declared is when the work begins, and they ask you about the government in exile. I want you to use this to look at the background, and you see all the betrayers and all those that are making money with the name of Biafra, claiming they are still Briggy and in the IPOB and all of them. What will give us Biafra is in paper. It's not about what I think or what I feel. It is about what is legal part that will bring all the international community to answer us. Because only what will make them to answer us is when we are on the template of the legal part, not when we are on how we feel and what we think. This is how it's supposed to be. And this is things that delay that Biafra has never become a country after we have lost it. But now we have come back to this legal right, how to have this country that belongs to us. Despite that this country belongs to us, we must follow all the criteria and all the straight line, how every other nation who lost their country in the past and how did they achieve their country. And you had the example of Belgium, Poland. If you come to Africa, you have example of Algeria, Namibia, Angola, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Kenya. And you wonder why you also have a country like Somalia, Syria, Yemen, where Maz told us that for us to achieve Biafra, that we have to replicate or repeat the history of Syria, Yemen, Somalia. And I have found out the history of Syria, Yemen, and Somalia. Their history is what USB is doing now, that you undermine. And when men undermine the truth, the consequences of the truth they undermine will turn back to hurt them. And in our own language, we said, had I know comes at last. So stop undermining the truth because you want money, because you want to see us that we are so relevant and so important. And I told you, when the message did not choose you and you force yourself to the message will dump you and disgrace you. That is how the message is destroying all these people at my back. That on my right-hand side, I see my DP and from Diana. All those ones there, Simon. Any other ones you see here are those that undermine the truth. And this truth, they will cry had I know for it. And you remember that ignorance is not an excuse in the eyes of the law. So like I said, I want to refresh your mind again. How international community describe the Government-in-Exile in their own law, not Biafrans, because you can never be a judge over your case. You can never be a judge over your case. So I play it once again.
Under public international law, when a government in exile, GIE, issues a peaceful redeclaration of a lost country claiming legal continuity, restored sovereignty, or self-determination, its validity relies on specific legal evidence and defined operational mechanisms for citizens both at home and abroad. 1. Evidence of a real government in exile issuing a redeclaration. A peaceful redeclaration is an assertion of de jure, legal, sovereignty. International law looks beyond the proclamation itself to evaluate whether the entity possesses genuine legal authority. Evidentiary pillars of a real G1. Constitutional preserves legal/democratic continuity prior to displacement/occupation 2. Host state status and formal agreement permitting sanctioned sovereign functions on foreign land. 3. International third-party states recognize the recognition GIE over the occupying regime. 4. Active personal functional administration over a jurisdiction voluntary citizen registry. Key legal evidence required. Constitutional or historical continuity. Evidence. Proof of a legal link to the state's prior constitutional order, pre-existing democratic mandate, or historical treaty rights immediately before the loss of territory, e.g., occupation, annexation, or usurpation. Legal principle. The doctrine of ex injuria jus non oritur, illegal acts do not create law, means an illegal occupation does not extinguish the legal continuity of the displaced state. Explicit host state sanction, headquarters agreement. Evidence. A formal bilateral agreement or legislative act by the host country granting the GIE legal standing to operate diplomatic missions, hold offices, and perform public acts on foreign territory. Legal principle. Under Article 2(1) of the UN Charter, a GIE cannot perform sovereign or administrative acts inside a host country without express authorization. International diplomatic recognition. Evidence: formal recognition by foreign nations, accreditation at international organizations, e.g., the United Nations or regional bodies, or the maintenance of official embassies. Declaratory versus constitutive impact. While statehood relies on factual criteria, Montevideo Convention 1933, third-party recognition serves as strong legal evidence that the international community accepts the Redeclaration. Functional civil registry and personal jurisdiction. Evidence: maintaining active databases, issuing civil credentials, IDs, nationality applications, heritage certificates, and demonstrating that a defined body of nationals voluntarily identifies with and submits to the entity's authority. 2. Work of an exiled government for citizens abroad. Since a GE lacks physical control over its homeland territory, its work for diaspora and exiled citizens operates under personal, active nationality jurisdiction. Consular services and civil registration, issuing identity credentials, passports, nationality certificates, and civil status documents, births, marriages, lineage/heritage records. Validity: these documents are valid for international transit or legal identity only to the extent that host states or allied foreign governments choose to recognize them. Protection of refugee and diaspora rights. Advocating before host governments and international organizations, e.g. UNHCR, to ensure exiled citizens receive legal residency, protection against forced repatriation, and asylum rights. Preserving national assets and legal funds. Managing state assets, foreign currency reserves, or diplomatic properties held abroad to prevent usurping powers from liquidating national wealth. Cultural and educational continuity. Establishing heritage frameworks, national archives, and educational programs to preserve national identity and history across generations in the diaspora. 3. Work of an exiled government for citizens in the homeland. For citizens remaining in the claimed or occupied territory, the GIE operates primarily through diplomatic, legal, and international channels. Diplomatic representation and legal challenges. Representing the sovereign voice of the population in global forums, e.g. UN General Assembly, regional bodies. Initiating proceedings before international judicial bodies, such as the International Court of Justice or International Human Rights Court, to challenge illegal occupation, resource exploitation, or human rights violations. Information broadcasting and civic directives. Running official communications, satellite broadcasts, and digital platforms to provide accurate news, counter propaganda, and maintain communication with citizens in the homeland. Humanitarian and financial coordination. Directing international aid, development funds, and targeted assistance into the homeland through non-governmental or international channels without legitimizing the occupying force. Transitional governance and legal frameworks. Preparing transitional constitutions, administrative policies, and peace accords so that when territorial control is restored, legal order and public administration can be re-established seamlessly. Comparative legal matrix dimension. Active GIE with Redeclaration and civil registry. Solitary nominal claim-only entity, legal basis. Personal jurisdiction supported by historical continuity or recognition. Unilateral political assertion lacking functional governance. Work for citizens abroad. Civil registration. Identity issuance. Consular advocacy. Asset management. Limited to political activism and public campaigning. Work for homeland citizens. International litigation. Diplomatic advocacy. Transitional lawmaking. Theoretical declarations without institutional follow-through. Weight in international law. Recognized as an operational legal entity where host state consent or recognition exists. Classified as a private political organization or advocacy group.
I hope if you are not doing all these things that being mentioned here, how to prove the Government-in-Exile, if you are not issuing ID card, no passport, no birth certificate, no marriage certificate, no asylum documents, you are just an activist advocate group like Ogenkere, like Imam Maduabo, like Shiomo Okoma and Bryce Okoma. This is what it means that you are the real Government-in-Exile. That is why I said we can never be a judge of our case. We can never write exam and mark our exam and pronounce our results. It's by action and what we are doing. It's not by saying it from the mouth. It is by the words that are watching us. They are like the supervisor in exam hall. They are the teachers. They are the ones to mark our exam and scored us, give us a position. And when we write on a criteria or thing that was being taught us in school, we pass. So today, we are in school, you don't know? And usually declared is standing on all this protocol and observing all of them. And without asking any question, or there is no more longer benefit of doubt on USB, with all the effort, and they call it what, all the legal documents that USB is presenting to us or giving to us, has proved that this is the real government in exile. That's what? That this is the real government in exile. With everything. It's not. And they say that all these things are the legal documents that leads to recognition that there is a sovereign nation and there is a permanent population. There is a defined territory. There is a government that has capacity to sign treaties and agreements with every other nations. The only government in exile that is the real one is the criteria that does not belong to us. And we are not the one to announce that you are going in exile, and that you are original one. It's by the work that, based on the criteria of international law and their guideline, it's not about who you are and what you feel and what you think. It's about standing on existing protocol that has been there before us. And we are not the first people that have formed government in exile. And you are not the first people that thrive from organization. That those who succeeded in having their country was those who, from organization, they transitioned to government in exile. And the real government in exile is the only that one that have issued either declaration or redeclared of a lost nation. And after the declaration, to prove that you are the real government in exile, you have to start issue ID card for those in diaspora and preparing the legal document of proving that this is how it works, like what Belgium did in 1949, like what Poland did in 1939, what Algeria did in 1960, what Namibia did in 1951, and all these are those, and Ethiopia, Eritrea in Africa. You also remember that Namibia got their freedom from South Africa. You also remember that Namibia got their independence from where? From South Africa. And they have all been in exile for some time. They have all been where? In exile. Not like all this Agnes Ude, who is a criminal, who think that he can rob the Biafran people. So, what we do is to stand on this protocol and how those that will live in their country, how they succeed in getting their own nation is the only way out. So on that, I am going to play this for you again. Listen to this audio. That's my research again, so you can understand how the even UN prove that this is the real government in exile. Not by me, not by you, by those that we are calling for them to recognize us.
Under public international law, the difference between a legally recognized operational government in exile, GIE, and a nominal or pure comes down to factual, legal, International law also defines what administrative and political work an exiled government can perform for its citizens, both those remaining in the homeland and those residing abroad. Part 1. Evidence of a real government in exile under international law. Because a government in exile lacks physical control over its territory, occupatio bellica or usurpation, international courts and legal scholars evaluate its status using specific evidentiary indicators, evidentiary pillars of a real G1. Legal origin 2. Host state consent 3. Diplomatic and continuity and headquarters recognition. Constitutional/democratic continuity, origin of legitimacy. Evidence. Proof that the exiled body was the legally constituted, elected, or recognized governing authority immediately prior to being displaced by military force, illegal annexation, or a coup. Contrast. Unilateral groups formed in exile without prior democratic mandates or historical state continuity carry less legal weight under customary international law. Formal consent of the host state, headquarters agreement. Evidence. Explicit authorization or special status granted by the foreign host government, allowing the GIE to maintain offices, operate diplomatic property, and conduct state-like functions on host territory. Legal basis. Under principles of territorial sovereignty, UN Charter, Article 2.1, a foreign authority cannot perform administrative or sovereign acts in a foreign host country without express authorization. Bilateral and multilateral diplomatic recognition. Evidence. Receiving third-party state recognition as the de jure legal government, maintaining accredited embassies, exchanging diplomats, or signing international treaties. Example. The Polish, Belgian, and Norwegian governments in exile in London during World War II maintained full diplomatic missions and held foreign-held state assets. Continuous civil and personal jurisdiction. Evidence. Maintaining a functional administrative body that records vital statistics, manages diaspora civil registries, or manages public finances/assets. Part 2. The work and functions of a GIE for its citizens. An exiled government exercises personal jurisdiction, authority over people, rather than territorial jurisdiction, authority over land. Its work is split between citizens abroad and citizens in the occupied or contested homeland. 1. Work for citizens abroad, in exile and diaspora. Consular and legal identity services. Issuing travel documents, identity credentials, or certificates of nationality to refugees and diaspora members. Note, these documents are legally binding for travel or domestic identification only if third-party states formally agree to honor them. Protection and diplomatic advocacy. Advocating with foreign host nations for asylum protections, residence permits, and humanitarian relief for exiled citizens. Civil registration. Maintaining databases of births, marriages, deaths, and military/national service records to preserve continuous legal citizenship for future state restoration. Preservation of national assets. Managing state-owned accounts, international reserves, or diplomatic properties held abroad to prevent usurping regimes from liquidating national wealth. 2. Work for citizens in the homeland, international representation and advocacy. Filing claims before international judicial bodies, such as the International Court of Justice or International Human Rights Court, to challenge illegal occupation, human rights abuses, or unauthorized exploitation of national resources. Information and clandestine administration. Operating independent news channels, broadcasting, and information networks to counter regime propaganda and communicate national directives to the local population. Channeling humanitarian aid. Coordinating international sanctions against the occupying or usurping power while directing international humanitarian funding and aid packages into the homeland through non-governmental channels. Preparation for post-occupation transition. Drafting transitional constitutions, legal frameworks, and peace accords so that legal order can be immediately restored upon returning to the homeland. Summary matrix sphere. Operational focus, legal basis and tools, homeland citizens. Diplomatic advocacy, legal challenges at the UNHCR, public communication, transition planning. Self-determination principles, customary international law on non-recognition of illegal force. Citizens abroad, issuing passports, IDs, refugee advocacy, civil registration, managing diaspora affairs. Personal/active nationality jurisdiction, host state special sanctions, evidence of legitimacy, democratic continuity, host state treaty rights, diplomatic recognition, active administration, Montevideo criteria, personal jurisdiction, constitutive, declaratory recognition theories.
Yes, my fellow Biafrans, you have had it now. You will really believe that the only right government you have, with all this evidence being mentioned, how the people that we are calling to organize us as a nation, is what they put out there. That is what you will be doing to prove the real government in exile. That is what USB is doing at this stage. They are only one. That is only the real. That is only the real government in exile you have. It's not by mouth. It is by the work of government in exile is how you know the real government in exile. And through our leadership of our DPM and all the cabinet members, they have proved to the world by all this that been mentioned. Those that remain for them to give us is our passport. Despite that, every other thing is in our hand. So go and take your own so you can be able to know that you are a citizen of United States of Biafra. That is how the countries that are being mentioned here. This is when all of them was in exile in UK, in London. This is how they operate from where they are. So I thank you for being here today. And I thank everybody in the comment section. Okon, I thank you. Benjan, I thank you. Ozago, I thank you. And Lawrence, I greet all of you that have been with me to this moment. I ask you anytime you watch the program, please Biafran son. Wow, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being here. I thank all of you. Thank all of you. Hello, wife, I thank you. Thank you so much. Anyang, I thank you. All of you that did not mention your name, I come back to mention all of your name. Thank you so much. Opudi, thank you for what you do. So I greet all of you as I'm going to leave it here until we come back again tomorrow. So please continue standing on the real government in exile. US declared. United States of America declared by Consular is the only real government in exile and the face of all Biafrans to have our own nation with all the legal and diplomatic work to restore our lost nation. On that note, I leave it here. To see you again tomorrow. From me, from here, have a nice day. Bye for now. Search enough, Mazi. Don't forget me. I hope you got my. Just send me a message. Do you have my number, Mazi? That is the only way I can send you all the things that you are asking. Do you have my number? Quickly, because I'm about to go to work. That is why I'm whining. I'm closing by now. So answer me. Do you have my number? Do you have my number? I want to know if you have my number. That is the only way I can be able to reach you. And that is a WhatsApp group I'm normally using the open. That is my WhatsApp group. Okay, thank you. After the program, just send me hi, then I will be able to remind you as I'm shutting down right now, because after that, I am off to my work. So thank you so much for being here. May Elohim continue to bless and protect us and guide, protect my Simon Ebanjoku. Remember, if you're in diaspora, our PM is calling Biafrans to stand with him from 17th to 21st of August. That is the real days of his trial that have commenced. So please, I urge you, if you're in diaspora, if you can afford to be there, even if you can be there on 20, one of these days, try and be there with our PM, please. It's very important. And USB also have a way to help those that want to travel if they do not have the amount to travel there. So I call on all of you, fellow Biafrans, please, to prepare your mind and prepare yourself to be in Finland one of these days. It is very, very important. So I thank you all and I greet you all. Thank you so much. Thank you. We move.